Halloween forever.
All right, guys. What's the best? Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
What's the best recipe for the perfect Valentine's Day morning?
I don't know, Brian. What is it? This is really complicated joke, and I don't.
Hug and a quiche. Welcome, boys and ghouls, to a very early Minisode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm your motherfucking two-time champ, bitches.
Coming in with a lot of big dick energy this morning.
I am Steve, and I love a quiche.
big quiche guy over
Big
here.
quiche
Welcome. We are here recording in very odd circumstances. We are recording first thing bright and early Sunday morning, and Tuesday's Valentine's Day. So we said, guys, let's give the just slightest of nods to the most bullshit of holidays. But you know what? In the last few years, I've kind of started to, since Joe Bob on the last drive-in started doing the Valentine's Day specials, I started to appreciate some fun Valentine's Day horror flicks, aside from the very obvious ones, right? Like My Bloody Valentine, stuff like that, which I absolutely love. And we're going to delve into one of them today. Meg, as she said, regrettably, is the current champ. And she was...
I want to thank the fans out there,
Don't thank the fans. Thank the fact that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the most famous
I like how you guys
films of
just
all
like
time.
to undercut every
Yes.
win or opportunity or anything that benefits me.
This one very clearly want to undercut because listen, guys, I'll recap what happened. How did Meg become champ? Right, it was an unequivocally asterisk filled occasion. Okay, so here's what she did. Right, here's what the fuck she did.
Sorry, I know how to win.
We picked micro budget gems. First, she picked a non-micro budget movie.
Shut up! You guys let it go through. You're like, yeah, this is fine.
One of the most popular horror movies of all time.
Also said, I'm going to pull a Meg here. That's what I do.
That's why it's called a Meg. Then it went to a tie, went to a vote. Of course, Texas Chainsaw won on face value alone. She's now the champ. But in her defense, she was gracious enough to pick a Valentine's Day horror movie. Now, the one she did pick initially was way too racist to talk about on air.
Yeah, we had to pivot real fast. Luckily, I had two in mind.
Yeah, we a movie that none of us had seen before. I think Steve, you hadn't seen the other movie we talked about before.
I had seen it a way long time ago, but I didn't remember. Like, I'd seen it when it had first come out.
Yeah,
because it was by the same director who did Tokyo Gore Police,
right?
And I just did not remember that pervasive amount of blackface. So
we were going to do a movie, which, listen, check it out if you want, or just watch Tokyo Gore, please. It's pretty much the same movie.
Which also has a little bit of blackface. Not a whole lot.
A little bit. It does. A little bit. Called, what was it? Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl versus Vampire Girl, or vice versa.
Something like that, yeah.
From 2009. And then we pivoted and we decided we were going to do, or Meg decided we were going to do 2017's The Love Witch, which is a very interesting flick. So that's where we're at, guys. If you want to get involved with all this bullshit, this nonsense, this voting, this suggesting topics, all that sort of thing, you should follow us on the social medias at Halloween is Forever or Halloween is Forever Pod, depending on what the hell platform it is. You search for Halloween is Forever, you're going to find it. We do on the Instagrams and the Twitters and the TikTokies and the Facebooks and all that sort of stuff. Or, I guess I haven't mentioned in a while, if you want to shoot us an email directly, it's halloweenisforeverpod@gmail.com. One thing we do like is suggestions for topics for our showdown episodes. Usually, we put this big spinny wheel together with dozens and dozens of topics. We spin it, we come up with 3, then we let our social media friends and listeners vote on what those, what that month's topic will be. Of course, next month, February Showdown, out out of the way. We still got a couple weeks left in February. It's a total piece of shit month. We all know this. Don't argue it. When March, a little bit better. Not that much better. A little bit better. So we are going to talk about today what are going to be our 3 options for you to choose for the topic for March. But before that, little unorthodox this morning. What are we drinking, guys? I don't think anybody's cranking beers yet, but
no, I'm not drinking beers. It's too early for beers.
It's too early for beers.
I thought Steve was drinking beer because he was drinking out of a can.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the same Gloop Glop, just like in a non-alcoholic.
Oh yeah,
it's uppers versus downers. That's all.
Oh yeah. No, I'm still in firmly gross Gloop Glop territory.
Mm-hmm.
Just I don't want to go off brand on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So like
it's important.
Yeah, I was just boo-bopping around yesterday running errands. And
bopping around, were you?
Yeah, just boo-bopping around doing errands. And then
Sure.
I was at Sheetz.
Sure.
And I was going through the Sheetz cooler looking for what kind of drinks they got. And lo and behold, they have vastly expanded their like iced coffee in a can line.
I noticed this. I just got one the other day.
Yeah. So I picked one up because I felt it. It felt right into the line of like gross shit that I would drink.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their orange creamsicle iced coffee.
Oh, wow. I actually would totally fuck. I mean, I'm kind of into that idea.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
don't
bad.
mind Irish creamsicle things, but coffee, boy, it seems. I guess roast character chocolate and orange is a good flavor combination.
Well,
Right.
they're always like serving, say, like lemon with espresso, but there's also it's called like Mazagran, I think it is, and it's espresso with lemon soda. Like,
okay.
yeah. So and like even using orange juice in coffee is like interesting. So that actually I feel like would work really, really nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's much more in line with what Brian's thinking. It's right down the line of one of those Christmas dark orange chocolates.
Yeah,
that you
totally.
get.
Yeah. I just want bitterness in the morning for whatever reason. I want black coffee or espresso.
It seems so on point for you.
I don't want sweet in the morning unless it's a donut. I'm just drinking a good old mug of black coffee and a big old dad mug. That's pretty much what the hell I'm doing right now. I think it's just old Dunkin' Donuts coffee or whatever the hell we bought on sale. So that's about as interesting as I get in the morning. I am definitely one of those people that's like, it's quantity over quality early in the day. Like, yes, I love and appreciate a really good high quality cup of coffee, but also I'll drink just the absolute bottom of the barrel fucking gas station coffee too. It just needs to be in my face within about 15 minutes of waking up or I'm going to fucking lose it. So I have like when I stay at hotels, you know how like in hotel rooms, they have those little like single, double, triple pots, that you make. If there's a pod situation, I'm definitely going for the pod situation, but I have made coffee so many times on coffee makers that have probably never been used before. Because normal people would just wait and go to the lobby or something. But I'm like, no, I need a cup of coffee before I get in the shower. So that's my move. It's just give me the fucking caffeine in my face as soon as I wake up.
Into it. I certainly appreciate like a really like a nice cup of coffee, and I think I'm a little bit spoiled from working where I work, and I have like a very specific drink, and sometimes I'll wait. Like if I know I'm going to work, I'm going to wait until I get there, but I'm only having one cup in a day. Like I am not going to have a whole pot. And sidebar,
you think you're better than me?
I do actually. No question that.
Hard yes, I'm better than you.
No, but you guys might appreciate why this latte that I always make at work. I like found a recipe for like honey miso syrup, and so I use that in it. It's really nice. It's like a salted caramel kind of like or salted nut roll type thing. Super tasty. So that's why I wait. But today, since I'm home, I was telling Steve already that I just I haven't brought good coffee into the house. So I have like the Giant Eagle Folgers knockoff, and that's what I'm just sipping on. Black as black, Yep.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta
purpose. It has a purpose.
Yeah, it's utilitarian in that way. It's like Unimart coffee or something like that. Like, they made it 3 days ago and it's just been in there scorching forever. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I actually like just leaving a pot on there just with cold coffee, and I'm just like that lazy at home where I just want it to pour it off and just heat it up and then go. That's the level that I get when I'm at home.
I microwave coffee all the time. All the time. Because I'll seriously sometimes in the afternoon I'll drink between Kate and I, we'll drink a pot of coffee in the morning, and then I'll make another whole pot in the afternoon just so I have some to microwave first thing when I wake up. I actually prefer microwave coffee in the morning because it's faster. I don't have to wait for the whole pot to make. I just literally microwave it for 1 minute. And I used to do a minute 30 on my microwave, but I've noticed that I can get it down to a minute 25, and it's legitimately just as hot.
We're talking efficiency here,
and
guys.
I just need it in my face. So I will go as far as to hit 1 minute 25 seconds in my fucking gourd.
That is like the opposite of cold brewing. Like, because I for sure will get a mason jar, cold brew overnight. Yeah. Whereas you're just I'm just let this garbage sit out.
Fancy boy.
Yeah. It does. It changes. The flavor changes. And in that it becomes very stale and not good tasting. But again, I do not give a fuck. I also make my drip coffee very strong, so it's it kind of holds up a little bit better. But like I said,
feel like you seem like a person, when you drink your coffee, you want to just be reminded how much you hate yourself.
Mm-hmm. I want to feel the pain of my ancestors. When I drink some coffee,
were your ancestors coffee roasters?
No, I don't know why I said that. I think it's because I watched The Northman last night, so that's why that came out of my mouth. Anyway,
everything's about your ancestors.
Everything's about the lineage, and So, anyway, guys, So it's a coffee morning. We're here together. Maybe you're listening to this in the morning. It's almost like we're there at your table with you, sipping on coffee.
We're a different type of silly when we're drinking coffee. And today I don't have my Twitch lighting. I just have the sun.
It's literally, it looks like somebody's shining a flashlight, like a cop is shining a flashlight in your face on the feed. It looks very uncomfortable.
I hate it.
Looks very unpleasant.
Also, it's just with this cold going on, my eyes are watering, and then the sun's making it more and more.
It just looks like you are a vampire who is being the sun is being cast upon you and you're melting. All right, guys, we got to do one more thing before we get into this very romantic movie. Let's talk about that spinning old wheel for the month of March. Steve, you got that wheel?
I got the wheel up. I got the wheel spinning.
What's
wheel's
the wheel
going.
Do for us?
So our first choice is werewolf flicks.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yes.
Boy, why do I remember us doing a werewolf episode in the past? No,
I haven't.
I don't believe we did. No.
I'm imagining that.
I don't remember doing a werewolf episode.
I love a werewolf flick. Underrated, underappreciated.
Oh, no, we did a werewolf episode, but it wasn't a full werewolf movie. It was The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Oh, yes. So we talked werewolves there. That's a great flick. But we will, we could delve deeper into the dog soldiers of the world and ginger snaps and all that fun stuff. So that sounds good.
Okay, here's a wild one. The Best of Peter Cushing.
Oh, I like where this is going. Peter Cushing is a horror icon. Most non-horror folks would probably know him from Star Wars.
I heard Meg in the background quietly whisper Doctor Who.
Well, it was I started Googling dork. And I was just I'm just here. I'm Googling things.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm Googling things.
And I see Doctor Who, and I'm I know of Doctor Who.
I'm over here.
I'm familiar with a Doctor Who.
I'm over here dying, actually, guys. Not good.
Give Meg a break. She's being melted by the sun. She's sick.
Robo tripping.
We also didn't mention that. She's been chugging Robitussin. She's full on. She might as well be drinking lean over there. She's
I'm
all
definitely
fucked up.
seeing walls move and shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, you'll know Peter Cushing from a million things, especially a lot of kind of classic British horror. So yeah. Anyway, and then of course, he played I want to say a minor role, but a smaller role in Star Wars. He was in a lot of Hammer horror flicks, Horror of Dracula, Curse of Frankenstein, Bride of Dracula, tons of good. The Hound of the Baskervilles, one of my favorites. It's one of the coolest, most like atmospheric movie. I mean, that's kind of what a lot of those Hammer horror films are known for. But anyway, Peter Cushing, that would be really, really fun. He doesn't get as much credit as your Vincent Price's,
as your Christopher Lees.
I was going to say, or your Christopher Lees, perhaps. But he is damn fantastic. So
that would actually be fun. Looks like there's a lot of good movies I'd like to see.
Yeah.
What do we got for number 3?
Number 3 is Hungry for Horror.
Oh, cool. Hungry. Number 4. I'm writing this down. Or
3. Number 3.
No, I mean, Hungry 4. I wrote it as number 4.
Number 4. Yes.
All right. So explain this one. Explain this one a little bit.
This one is anything that's food or restaurant related. So
I like this one.
I think you can go as far as there's what was it? There's like a one that's like donuts. I forget the name of it.
Killer Donuts.
I guess it's Killer Donuts. So
I think it's just called Killer Donuts.
Yeah. So like
AKA Brian's Breakfast.
Killer Donuts, or would we say Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? Maybe that's not really horror. It's more of
the original. The original's pretty close to like just a B movie. Maybe the sequel with George Clooney is Yeah, you take your chances with that one.
How about a Blood Diner? That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, Blood Diner. And then like I feel like Critters 2 would be okay with that because there's just enough around it, because like you have the Hungry Howies or whatever. There's that infamous scene at the burger bar, but then they also beat them with cheeseburgers. So like, there's just enough.
Fresh, I think, would be a good one. I would say I just had another one in my head that was pretty good. What's the Troma movie? Poultrygeist.
Poultrygeist is a great one. That's a great one to put on there.
Yeah. So this should be this should be a lot of fun. All right. So I'm gonna be really excited about any of these ones. So once again, go on the old social medias and check us out. Motel Hell. I've been looking for an opportunity to do Motel Hell. That just popped in my head. Werewolf Flicks, Peter Cushing, Best of Peter Cushing, or Hungry for Horror. So check us out on the social medias and do a little vote and help us decide what's going to be our showdown topic for the magical month of March. All right, Meg, all the rights and privileges of the champ, of course, go to you. So tell us about this movie, why you picked it, besides it was plan B from your other, not necessarily incest. Like I didn't see incest, but what you missed in incest, you more than made up for in racism.
Think what you're trying to do here is like pull the attention away from the incest that you're bringing to the table.
What am I doing?
No, it was in your last film, had like all this incest and stuff. We were to like just talk. Yeah, you were like, it was the Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and you were just like, oh, Steve brought the incest.
Yeah, that's what it was. Don't put this juju on me.
I just like that you're still trying to bring it back to me and try to bring me down. But you can't bring the giant down.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't bring the giant down.
Your can't stop, won't stop speech doesn't have as much weight as you die, and
as you get melted by the sun.
Yeah.
I know. I like keep migrating right now, and I hate it. I'm like overheating. It's terrible, guys.
Meg's got flop sweats right now. She's just like so mad. She's got her hand on her head.
So since again I was the guys let me know that I came out on top, that I ran away with it, and I didn't, you can't put the asterisk on this time because I didn't ask anyone to vote for me. Let the fans choose, if you will.
No, it's just the asterisk this time is on the audience not being as media literate as they should be.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would
sorry.
never say that about any of you listening.
I'm not saying they're wrong about what they know. I'm just saying I hope as time goes on they learn better.
Maybe they just actually agreed with me that your movie would have been better if it was just a little different. And I'm not diving back into that. I'm not doing it.
All right, we're here. Let's bring it back up, guys.
So knowing this episode would come out, the day before Valentine's Day, and last year we covered My Bloody Valentine, which was really fun. I was like, there's plenty of thematic horror movies, and there's probably some good ones, and there's probably some bad ones. So I just watched Love Witch probably a couple of years ago for the first time, and I was like, it's an okay movie. Then in my digging was the one where it was Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl, and I was like, this looks insane. Obviously we decided to go away from that because of the racist implications, and didn't really want that one on the recording.
Didn't necessarily want to get real granular on that one.
It's kind of hard to explain why the Japanese have such a bad I don't know. They have such a bad time with doing that in a lot of things. And it's like, it's not for us to explain another culture's bad behavior with
a culture that none of us live in or necessarily know much about outside of media. But
that's white-splaining somebody else's racism, and that's fucking weird. So let's
we have our
not
own
do it.
racism to explain here in the United States, guys.
Let's not do it.
So anywho, we ran in and started doing the Love Witch, and I remember some things jumping out initially when I first watched it was just like the way the film looked like, it definitely was hinting a lot from like 60s type film, and and diving into like the background of it, that this was shot on 35 millimeter film, and seeing it was printed from like an original cut negative, which is cool. It was not only written, edited, directed, produced, and scored by Anna Biller. I don't know if you guys know any of her background. I don't really know too much.
I just know that she this was a very singular project for her, and she did like everything associated with it. So that's really the only thing I know about her.
Yeah. The only thing I found more about it was like just going into her like IMDb profile. She it seems to be, that's the only way she works is just by being pure auteurism and doing everything. And even in her bio, she has like a quote that just is like, she says, film is like sex. Film fulfills all of my expectations, all of my fetishes. Video doesn't satisfy anything for me. So if I couldn't work on film anymore, I would just go back to painting or writing music, and I'd just stop making films. So
it's an interesting concept too, because I feel like I can almost understand as like someone being an artist, and this film for sure kind of has that feel like it's an art film of sorts. Just with the way that was filmed and like the colors that were chosen, of how someone would want to have control of each piece, because it's also not a very long film. I mean, actually, it's almost 2 hours. But, sorry, but it doesn't feel like a long film.
Yes,
is what I'm saying. I know.
It also feels like a long.
Yeah, that's my only. I like this movie a lot because it's visually striking. I love movies of the era that it's trying to mimic, which is this kind of and maybe this is my like limited scope of film, but it reminds me of like a 70s Italian like drama / sexploitation type of movie. Is that accurate? I imagine that it's not giallo necessarily, but it definitely has this very, very Italian flair to it, but not necessarily Italian horror. Yeah.
So a couple films that it immediately reminded me of, as far to what you're talking about, Brian, do you remember the film Diabolique?
Oh yeah.
It had very much has that very same Diabolique feel to it. It also reminded me of Black Dynamite.
Yeah, well, because I think it's 60s, 70s Technicolor.
Right. It's
specifically is like so a lot of movies were of course shot in Technicolor or remastered, finished in Technicolor. But yeah, I don't know that there's a specific genre that represents the aesthetic as much as an era and some of the technology around that. Of course, the 35 millimeter and the Technicolor.
Yeah. So the other film that is like a good representation of like kind of this melodrama, Technicolor melodrama is what it is Sisters of Death.
I don't think I saw Sisters of Death.
Sounds really familiar.
You
can find like it's on Tubi as a Riff Tracks version.
Okay.
But like it's a little darker than what this is. Like
I see.
This one is much more exemplary of the 60s aesthetic. Whereas like Sisters
even the fashion and stuff is 60s inspired.
Yeah. But like, yeah, Sisters of Death has a lot of the same kind of feel. And then there was another film, like the movie we're talking about, it's on Tubi. So like, that's where I watched it. The film that played right after that, because Tubi's just like, never stop watching.
Yeah.
There's a film, it was called Vampire Ecstasy. And boy, that movie starts with lesbian finger banging. And it is
nice.
It fucking rules.
I don't know. Whenever you said lesbian finger banging,
what was
I
that one you just
in my
talked about?
head went easy like Sunday morning.
Which one? Which one, Meg? Vampires.
No, the one you. Oh, that movie. Okay, so I like stopped paying attention for like when the credits came on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that movie last night came on right after, and I thought it was like an after the credits like film that was coming on, and that scene came out. I was like, whoa, okay,
yeah,
this is where we're going.
Yeah.
See, this is why I'm disappointed. You guys got this amazing organic experience of being subjected to lesbian finger banging after the movie. I watched on Shudder. I got no such experience. So shame on me for not watching it on Tubi.
That'll teach you.
That's what I'm saying.
To be given.
Yeah.
Remember that.
I know. Shame on me. I watched this movie for the first time when it initially came out on Shudder. And then sometimes what happens with these movies, not sometimes, quite often on Shudder, is a movie that they're going to do on the last drive-in or on one of the last drive-in specials will pop up on Tubi some weeks or months beforehand. And then I will have already watched it by the time they do it on the show, which I like and don't like, because I like to be able to, peel back another layer of the onion, because they go super deep into all the, everything about it. In fact, if I recall, and I wish I would have had time to rewatch it, because with, the last drive-in specials and Joe Bob and all that, it makes the movie like twice as long, which is fun, but it's just, time constraint here. But I wish I would have had time to rewatch the Valentine's Day special from last year or 2 years ago, where they did this movie, because I think they had the director, the woman who did like everything on this movie. I don't even know what to refer to her as, Anna Biller, as the director, but
you call her auteur.
Yeah, there you go. I think they had her on because I remember she was very interesting to like listen to her, philosophy on filmmaking and creating art in general. But so this is the third time I've watched the movie, is I guess what I set out to say.
Okay. But no, you're right. Cause like I did a dive, cause like there's so little about her. Like I've never really heard of her before. I've never seen this film before. And like there's so little about her. I was just like doing a Google dive on her. I wound up like on her Twitter, and like her Twitter is very much like just puts forth like all the aesthetics that she's into and everything. And I hate to say it this way, but like, I don't know. I don't have a better way to say it, but this film reminded me of just like a moving Pinterest board.
Yes. It's very aesthetics forward.
Yeah.
Pinterest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had an aesthetic vision in mind that she wanted to bring to life on the screen. And the story is not nearly as gripping as the aesthetics.
Yeah. Which is why, again, I said it reminded me of Black Dynamite in a way, because like it's obvious the people behind Black Dynamite have a love and affinity for the 70s exploitation martial arts film. And so they recreate it perfectly, but also it's one of the funniest films ever made.
I'm most curious too, because I was like, in looking, I kind of saw this movie. I mean, and all the cheesy tackiness of like just the acting, you can tell that was very purposeful. Is it almost puts you back in this era that might make us understand why the story kind of makes sense and why she's like trying to, like, it has this like all these like feminist implications of like she's taking back and regaining control of her own like love life in a sense through this like witchcraft story. But I think like when you see it, you start feeling like you are in like the 60s or 70s, when at that point I think there was different, very specific stereotypes of certain roles of women in society, you know? So I think like maybe that allowed me to understand that a little bit more. Cause I think in essence, this is a really cheesy story. And I'm kind of just like, in all essence, for as much as like it feels like these like feminist implications, I'm like, still like, she just is very desperate.
Yeah.
And
it's weird.
I hated that throughout the whole thing.
It was interesting because it's I like the themes of the movie more than I like the actual plot of the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like it's obviously this like betraying gender stereotypes thing, and you think she's going to ultimately be the kind of like empowered feminist who's taking back her sexuality and all that, but then she's kind of not. She's still like a vulnerable character that's figuring it out for herself, and ultimately she's kind of going about things in the wrong way, which I think is. Like I'm not really sure what the director was necessarily, or writer was necessarily trying to do or say in that, but at least it wasn't ultra predictable. I just think I think it was just too long. Like it felt like there was a good 30-40 minutes that could have just got cut and it would have missed nothing.
I mean, I'm really curious too, because like I feel like for even how I feel about the story and everything, like it was a 2-hour film, but I feel like the way it was just kind of cut up, it always felt like it was this soap opera-esque type vibe.
Yeah, it was very melodrama.
And so like I feel like they kept coming back at the right times for me, at least. So I never felt like bored or like I was losing my attention. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. At least that's how I experienced it.
It's also part of like the way the film is made and the way it's edited that makes it feel longer than it has to be, is, you know, and it's in line with the style of a film from the 60s, but like everything is shot flatly. There's not too many really interesting camera angles. You get a couple.
The camera is not very dynamic at all at any point. Like it's always like you get even like to the point where you get
a wide
like
shot or like a close up shot of like the specific thing happening.
And then you get a couple punch zooms, which were of the time, where like they quickly zoom in on somebody's eyes or somebody's face for dramatic effect, but like that's all they did as far as, you know, dynamic camera movement. And then the other thing is, editing wise, you see like every action. You know, you every establishing shot has cars pulling up.
I was going to say there's so much parking of cars. I feel like
which is very, you know,
it's very classic from that era,
and it's something that, like Mystery Science Theater makes fun of all the time. Like,
oh yeah, Mystery Science Theater. That's what I was thinking.
They always love making fun of like car movement for no reason, and then
cars parking. Yeah,
and then you have. Like anytime she's like doing a witch recipe, you see every step, like you watch her make it in real time. So like, there's no like, whereas like you think of the way, you know, Shaun of the Dead is edited and the way, you know, Shaun gets ready in the morning, it's like 5 quick cuts and then
pow, pow,
and the entire morning's
everything's
over.
Like implicated too. Yeah, like of what's actually happening. Yeah.
So it's definitely edited and shot for the time. And this is where my problem is with the film is like, so is Black Dynamite. Black Dynamite is shot poorly in a lot of ways on purpose. It's just that movie's funny and this movie isn't. If this movie was funnier on purpose, there's a couple instances that we can talk about as they come up of like where I think she's doing something very deliberately funny, but overall the movie isn't funny.
No, no, it doesn't. It's more quirky than it is funny. You know what I mean? The one thing getting back to the themes real quick, the one thing I did like and took away from it this time that I didn't earlier. And we should say they are sticking incredibly close. Like they are playing it very close to the vest in the whole idea that this is literally a movie from the 60s. Like they are trying to, there's never like a wink, wink, nod, nod. Like I remember the first time I watched this, Kate was watching it with me and she was kind of half watching. And then they said something about, 2016 or 2017 or whatever. And she was like, wait, what? This movie, because she was like half not paying attention. And so it is very much try to look like and have many of the sensibilities and all these things of a movie from, 2016. But from the 60s rather. But this time around, I did like the idea of, obviously this is during a much more conservative time frame, like the 60s, when there would be much more deeply ingrained gender roles. Not that they're not there now, but like they were just like almost a foregone conclusion in the 60s. And then, but they're still like living in this very like liberal environment of, I don't know if they ever come out and say it's California.
They do.
It is California.
Yeah, because Elaine, the main character, moves from San Francisco.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's very,
they
60s.
accept witches there or something, that's why.
It's a very liberal environment, but she's still dealing with all the same type of, gender stereotypes and roles and stuff like that, despite being in this more liberal environment.
Yeah, to your point about like that, it being very deliberately feeling like 60s and Kate specifically being like, what? This like they mentioned something newer. Is that this time around in watching it, like for whatever reason in my brain, I still thought they were trying to kind of be in the 60s in a sense. And then I saw the cell phone use that when Trish pulls it out at the last time when they have tea. And I'm like, oh, head smack, like this is kind of more of a modern film, but I still think like for the film, that connection, I wish they would have like not done something like that. I kind of wish they would have like left some of the technology out and like even given a little nods, whether or not towards like stuff from the 60s or even more modern things, and kind of let it be up to you to decide when this was actually taking place. I think where a cell phone is a very clear indicator that's like iPhone-esque. It's not even a flip phone, so it's not like we can say it's like from the 90s. I didn't
even notice. And that's probably a testament to the filmmaker that like I was in the world and didn't even notice that a cell phone was out of place. But also, I guess it's everything we should say is a very not just aesthetically stylized, but a very heightened reality.
Yeah. And it kind of feels like the Munsters in a lot of way, or like even just to get even weirder on the reference, like the Brady movies that were made in the 90s of like how they were living in the 70s in a modern world.
But they were in the modern world. That's that's actually a fucking great movie.
No, they're good movies, but it's just like a weird pull. So the movie starts in a way that's like anachronistic, that made me feel like we were going to get more of that, which I wish we, again, I think it lends to it being funnier if you get more anachronistic points. But like, other than like the beginning and the cell phone, it pretty much sticks to being a 60s, styled film. But it opens with kind of this great shot down I assume it's the Pacific Coast Highway, of Elaine's driving, and then she gets pulled over by a cop, and like the driving itself is filmed in that back projected style where it's very clear that like she's in her car isolated, and then they just have footage, projecting in the background behind her, which is like, it's a cool throwback to that time. But then like the cop car is very modern, that pulls her over. And then this is the first like joke that it came to me that I was like, oh, this might be like a really funny film, is that the police siren on the sound design is so fucking bad. Like it's purposely bad. I didn't notice. Yeah. Like you can listen to it. It feels like it's a 2 or 3 second loop, and the loop hard cuts itself. So like it goes, we, and then it just like when the cop car pulls her over, it fades out in like a bad way that like that's not how sirens work. But they just put a fade out on. I was like, oh, this movie might be really funny because that's such intentionally badly done.
It's such a tremendous attention to detail in this movie. So like I want to be clear, like I really enjoy this movie and like have a tremendous amount of respect for like the attention to detail and the like very singular vision of what this was supposed to look like and what it's supposed to evoke. And I think there's a testament to movies like this that do kind of pull on either like nostalgia kind of strings or just are trying to evoke a different era. And in this instance, it's a very specific thing. It's not even just that time frame, it's movies of that time frame. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like a self-aware movie within a movie almost. You know what I mean? So I dig that kind of stuff. It's just it felt like it got caught up in that a little bit to a sense where it stopped taking care of the story and other characters and then just kind of like meandered. But I think if you probably spoke to the director, I don't, obviously don't know a lot about her, but I'm just speculating here that she's totally fine with that. And this is like, this was a project like for her to bring this world to reality. And even if we're just sitting in it and kind of marinating in it without things really moving forward, that's probably by design.
Yeah. And like, it's just a testament to that. If you look at her IMDb profile, again, nothing that she's done. She hasn't done like any really commercial work. Like, I'm assuming like she herself is either independently wealthy or her parents are, or she just knows somebody who is, that is willing to finance these art projects. Because that's what she makes. She just makes art projects that she wants to make. She doesn't it doesn't feel like she's making film to be famous. She's just making film to, because she enjoys film.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, it's like just reading her background on Wikipedia. Her mom was a fashion designer and her dad was a visual artist. So it's like growing up in a very creative household.
Okay,
like,
yeah. So she probably just comes from a household that like there was money from like that they made, and that she's able to use that to fuel her art. So,
yeah. This whole movie could have very easily been like a diorama. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's just this is the medium that she picked for this project, which is pretty cool. Obviously, a little. I don't know. I hate to say, but like there is something for somebody who appreciates like exploitation films and all those types of things. I do kind of like when a movie has to like hustle and scrape a little bit or a filmmaker has to, you know what I mean? Yeah. And this feels like something about this being just like an over the top vanity project of sorts. Like you could view it like that is a little annoying to me.
And it's also interesting though, because when we think of vanity projects, we think of like The Room, or we think of
where they put themselves in the movie. Yeah. So it's not fair to call it a vanity project, but it's just like it's when you don't have to worry about the commercial aspect or the hustle of it. Yeah. It frees up so much more effort and just mental bandwidth to not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like somebody who it's almost like they got the game genie.
Yeah.
You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah. She got a game genie to make art. And it's the way I feel about it is what I was like getting at is like when we think of these vanity projects, we think of The Room and we think of Neil Breen and they put themselves in it and it's like bad. Like they don't know
horrible. Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing in filmmaking. Whereas like it's obvious that Anna knows what she's doing and she has the game genie to make her art project. And she probably falls more in line with like Lena Dunham because like Lena Dunham grew up in like an arty household and she there was that whole big like Nepo baby fucking conversation that like people were having. It's like I don't care about that much, but also you can
honestly,
recognize
if somebody else was in that role, like if you were in that position, you'd probably do the same thing,
right?
So it's like I'm not like putting any type of moral judgment on them. It just changes the feel of the movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because it feels like it was easy for her to make this film. The challenge was in pre-production and post-production of like gathering all the materials, like, or creating the dresses that are in the film. And then like Meg, you said this was printed from an edited negative.
Yeah, that's what it said. Printed from an original cut negative. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like she did reel to reel editing, which nobody fucking does anymore. For a lot of reasons. But if she did that, she did it in, that's her just pursuing an artistic way of doing it. She's not interested. I mean, even filming on film is such an out of the world thing for small budget films.
Yeah. So expensive. And just, I mean, obviously in this instance, you have to do 35 millimeter to get this type of aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely.
But and it shows off, and the polish is there. You know what I mean? Like at no time do I want to like question the just like talent of her as a visual filmmaker. And we haven't really talked a whole lot about the plot or the story quite yet, but it's not to say it's bad. It's just I think if the movie didn't look as striking as it did, then it wouldn't be as glaring of a contrast that the story is a little lacking.
Yeah.
And I feel like the story kind of has this like repetitive nature to it.
Absolutely.
And
I think it's kind of supposed to, again, it's just kind of by design. It's supposed to be that way. It's like, the film is 2 hours long, and it's like a cozy film. It's something that you can throw on. You can kind of throw it on in the background if you want. Yep. You don't have to give it. You can give it as much attention as you want. And like I think a lot of that time the attention is going to be what you see visually. But
it's like I was watching it in the background. It's like I've seen it before, but you all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, there's some sort of cool ritual happening in the background. You're like, it's just eye catching.
We got a lot of boobs and swinging dicks going on here, guys.
A lot of nudity, a lot of pretty people with their privates out.
She definitely
a lot of witchy shit,
Yeah,
this is
witchy shit.
Yeah, witchy shit.
Cool witchy imagery. Yeah.
I don't know how much merkin work goes on in this, but she definitely put out the casting call of like, do you still have your bush? Do you want to grow your bush out more?
Yeah. In search of bush.
Do you appreciate a good 70s bush?
Me
Come
too.
on down.
Oh, me too.
Boy, howdy. But yeah, to kind of talk about a little bit more of the plot. And I think like the more I even said it out loud of like, it has this repetitive nature that, as much as we're trying to have this like, I don't know, like feminist reclamation of sorts, like of her sexuality, she's still getting caught up in the same sort of patterns of behavior. And I think like that's probably one of the most human things to this movie is that we could try to learn from what we go through and even take control of the situation and still end up at the same results and stuff like that. So Elaine, as we said, was driving on the highway, leaving San Francisco to go live in Arcata, to kind of get away from a situation where her husband had left her and she's being implicated to have possibly killed him. And whether or not, I think all these signs, like she has this weird behavior about her where you're almost like, I either want you to be a really mean person or you're just coming off like really dumb. I don't know if you guys, you know what I mean? Like, it's either like I wanted her to be a little bit more intentional with what she was doing, because I think when she's not, she kind of comes off as this character that doesn't know what she's doing whatsoever. And I kind of hate how that's portrayed.
She comes off as like a, and I don't even say an anti-hero. She comes off as like just a sociopath. In the way that like she is, her belief or understanding of what love is has been like so irreversibly poisoned by culture that she's just never gonna like it's almost like fatalistic from the beginning. She's never gonna find love because she doesn't even know what love is. And maybe it's not her fault, maybe it's society's fault, but it like she thinks that love, like she's obsessed with love in the like Valentine's Day sense of love,
right?
Which
Hey,
is
guys,
to say,
so timing.
yeah. So I mean, this is literally like kind of the perfect like Valentine's movie, because it actually like indirectly has like kind of a weird criticism on like what Valentine's Day is, and like our cultural
Like
tenets
how we
around
celebrate love and like
Valentine's Day.
how we yeah, it's so skewed in our brains of like what the
It's like
stereotypes
do
of what
a
should
thing.
be love.
It's almost like she treats love like it is transactional a little bit. But it's not a transaction with her potential partner. It's a transaction with like, you know, the powers that be, you know, witchy powers and stuff like that. So I do a thing, it makes him fall in love with me. And she just wants that like puppy love, romantic. I mean, obviously lustful is a big part of it, sexuality and all that, which obviously
once it goes too far and you start becoming a whiny little bitch, you're out.
But then like she doesn't want to
don't be a whiny bitch about it.
That's why it's so surface level. She wants the puppy love and the wooing and the you know, romance, but she doesn't want emotion.
Right. Or like a real thing where you have to deal with conflict and you have to deal with like all the other stuff that comes like after that. And
the things that you would only do for and with someone that you truly loved, she doesn't want to have anything to do with these things, because she of course doesn't truly love these people. So like that's where I get the sociopath thing, is like she doesn't understand the emotion part of it. So she just surface level.
Yeah. So I this is something I kind of connected towards the end. I had a very specific note on that, and kind of the plot, just to quickly get there through the plot. The plot is like she keeps casting these love spells. These men fall obsessively, addictively in love with her, and then like she either has to kill them or they die, or she poisons them just because they become too simpy, and then she hates it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
And
that's the whole movie. That's the plot.
That's the movie. But
then Griff comes into play and he fights back, and then she's like,
yeah. Then she finds a guy who calls her out on her bullshit and like says, you're like borderline personality. Also, he's a cop, and he's like, I know that you killed all these guys. You're going to jail. And also I hate you. And also like, I'm not taking your love spell. So she kills him. But
can we like talk about for 2 seconds like when that was all going down in the cabaret, the club, the burlesque club, and all of a sudden it was such an interesting scene. It goes from 0 to 60 where these people want to attack her and kill her to then they want to fuck her, and then all of a sudden these guys are taking off their pants, and it was just like such like this time around I just like got I was like, that felt very like 0 to 60 for me. So weird.
I'd love to come back on more of those scenes in that club, because there's a lot of interesting things that happen in there. But
sure,
the very end of the film is like she's killing Griff, and then as she's killing Griff, she's having this fantasy of like, it's a very, you know, like Renaissance medieval wedding that is replicating something that they already did earlier in the film as like a first date. But in this scene, there is no music, and very intentionally, Anna shows the band playing, but you hear no music. And it's something that is written a lot from like people who write about psychopaths and sociopaths, is like there's a common phrase that they use a lot, which is called they know the words but not the music.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know how intentional Anna has it, but that struck me immediately, because I've like read it so many times, of like knowing the words but not the music. And it's feels like exactly what Elaine's going through in that moment, in that she knows all the words of what she wants out of love, but she literally can't hear the music that you would hear in that instance.
Boy, that makes so much sense. Yeah, I mean, I would be. I want to go rewatch that scene, because I did not make that connection, nor did I. The phrase makes a lot of sense, but I've never heard that phrase before. But if would be surprising if that wasn't intentional.
Yeah, because like she is such a sociopath. Because like you see a lot of negative things between her and the men, obviously, but then there's the one guy she's seducing, which is Richard, who is the husband of the woman you meet beforehand, Trish.
her friend. Yeah.
And I believe Trish is just like the realtor or like perhaps the property owner that's renting out the room.
She is that interior decorator who knows Barbara and is like kind of like the landlord, like a manager of the property of sorts.
Yeah. And they go and sit in the tea room. She's the tea room one, right?
Yeah.
And then just the way she treats Trish after Trish reveals that Richard kills himself over Elaine. And like how quickly she's dismissive of Richard being dead and then going on to her own thing of I found love with Griff. Is such a sociopathic, narcissistic, in her own world
immediately
thing.
Makes you feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You're like, that's not how normal people respond to other normal people.
It's actually a really, so I just watched this thing on YouTube. It was like an hour and a half long interview with a sociopath that was like this con man who like, you know, this real estate con man who, you know, ran from the cops and stole bajillions of dollars and all this stuff. And he's very self-aware about being a sociopath. And he explained like what his social interactions boiled down to for him as a narcissistic sociopath. And a lot of it was is like, I am just desperate to not talk about you, get past your part of the discussion. He's like, and then I'll blink and I will realize that I've been talking about myself for 20 minutes.
Wow.
It's all transactional and it's all just to get to your next part. Like their next speaking lines is what it is.
Waiting for their chance to talk. Is all. They're not having a conversation. They're just waiting for their chance to talk.
That's how I feel on this podcast sometimes.
That's how I live my whole life.
You're like waiting for me to shut up.
Waiting for specifically Meg to shut up. No, I was like, I remember somebody saying that to me as a kid because I was just listen. If you're a fan of the show, I'm nothing if not verbose. I talk a lot. I get that.
You're chatterbox.
I'm a damn old chatty Kathy.
You're little like they sent that home in second grade. They're like, he's a nice guy, but he's a chatterbox.
I used to I was the kid who got in trouble for talking all the time. But I do remember that as a kid, sitting with me, somebody was like, you're just waiting for shut up. You're just waiting for your chance to talk. And I was like, oh, damn it. You're right. I am.
I believe I've said it before, but I'm pretty sure all three hosts on the show have some form of undiagnosed ADHD with all the fidgeting we do and the talking over each other.
You guys can't see what I'm doing. I have a little skeleton and I have a little spider and I'm just kind of rubbing them against each other and doing all kind of weird shit with them.
I am unscrewing and screwing in my tablet pen. So
we just need to do an entire side podcast on our own mental quirks and issues. Yeah, I used to get yelled at all the time for like at work. That's all I did was present all day and teach classes and stuff. And I would click a pen the entire time. And so many times somebody in the class would put their hand up and be like, can you stop clicking that pen? And I'd be like, sorry, because I didn't realize I'm doing it, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of fidgeting and interrupting.
They did make fun of me for not being able to say my R's.
I kind of wish that was like a thing is still for you, or if that was actually a thing in your life.
It wasn't, but I think it's very funny to talk like that. Yeah.
It's like one of those things like instantly you see someone can't say their R's and you're like, oh buddy, that's so adorable. Now we're making fun of people, and I'm not actually making fun of people. I think these things are adorable. Like
I love saying Sowie.
And this is the other thing for our ADHD is that now this is what we're talking about. We're talking about
this is a different thing. Steve, we're past your point.
I know.
Stop.
I'm doing it for the audience.
Validating his point.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I'm doing it for the audience. I'm pointing it out to the audience.
You guys want to hear another thing about me?
I'm just saying we're now 3 rabbit holes down. We've gone from the movie to sociopaths to ADHD to talking about how we like to say sorry and I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
Can we turn this to like a WebMD podcast now and like try to help diagnose what I need to do to not be sick anymore?
Well, that's just, I already told you what it was. It's Robitussin and JMO doing shots.
I don't have any more. I need to go to the store, guys. Okay. Back to the movie.
Back to the movie. So, yeah.
I'm going to go looking like this too, guys. It's terrible.
Give me medicine and alcohol. So, yeah, I'd love to come back to like those different club scenes because there's this dive bar / go-go bar in 2016, apparently.
Go-go bar. That's a great phrase.
Go-go bar.
Go-go.
They have women on stage dancing, and I believe it's the first time we visit it. It's Elaine is meeting up with people we've only seen in flashbacks beforehand, but they're apparently like her kind of witch coven that they've been together before. And we meet, I think her name's Samantha, and the other one who's kind of the warlock leader of the witch cult. Barbara? Is it Barbara?
Barb. Yeah. Weird.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We meet Barbara and then Gahain, who is...
Oh, you remember Gahain's name and not Barbara?
No, I just found it on IMDb. But yeah, we meet Barbara and Gahain, and then like Elaine is seeking some sort of instruction from them. And this is where Barbara delivers an interesting monologue about like using sexual empowerment and specifically sexual magic to like get what they want out of men. And it's juxtaposed over one of these go-go dancers, or burlesque really, because she goes down to the pasties, the spinny tassel pasties.
Yeah.
And like you have like these lecherous old men who are just like, I'm gonna get somebody.
Yeah.
I wish people could see what you just did with your face.
I'm pretty sure people could get it.
Yeah, they just, when they do that, their tongue like unrolls like a red carpet.
It's the old wolf in the Bugs Bunny cartoons where his tongue comes rolling out.
It like touches them a little bit.
Comes out and then the tongue flops out. Then the tongue turns into stairs. Like that's.
Like, yeah, you got a whole bunch of men in the front row doing that as this woman's giving a burlesque dance, and it's over, Barbara giving the speech about like, sexual and feminine empowerment using that. And it's like, it's weird because I don't know, I guess you just know that like she's saying, use all these tools to your advantage to take advantage of men. And then once you have them in your grasp, then you can do whatever you want with them. But at the same time, you take a look at the guys in this audience.
Took notes on that part.
Yeah. You take a look at these guys in the audience and it's like, I don't think they'll ever fall for that though. Like they're just they're just scumbags for scumbag's sake. Like they'll never be taken over by the sex magic.
I'm almost curious if this is like some playing into some sort of like feminist stereotype, like that they're trying to talk about, like how when you're reclaiming your sexuality, though, like that allows like you to have more control in the situations. Because oftentimes when we're talking about these like sexual power dynamics, like sex is used as a power and a control, over women oftentimes. So I wonder if this is like their perception, like through this lens of like how they can reclaim that, and again, using witchcraft and spells to kind of further that. It did feel a little off because they were always, it felt a little chaotic every time they used it. And every time it was like oftentimes enacted, it never felt like there was a power and control with it too. It always kind of felt chaotic. So I don't know if there's something else being said there. And I think we're just like, I don't know, maybe I should have spent more time thinking about it. But
no, that's a good point. That made me think about, because I was trying to pinpoint like what exactly is the overarching theme where everyone in this story, maybe with the exception of Trish, but even Trish, like no one has got love figured out, if you will. Like no one is successful necessarily in their love life.
Yeah, even Gahain's kind of a creep, and you can tell Barbara doesn't even fucking care.
Oh yeah,
Gahain's kind of a major creep in this.
Oh yeah, I think it's strongly
sexually assaulting people.
Yeah. I think I was gonna say it's strongly implied that like he sexually assaults Elaine at one point, and like that's his whole deal is like he's this cult leader, and like but Elaine keeps, it's something you mentioned before, Meg, about like Elaine keeps coming back to these bad habits. And one of these bad habits is always hanging out with this coven of fucking perverts who are like, they're just not, they're just, and it's the scene where they go back to the ritual. They have this whole ritual thing. And then after the ritual, it breaks down into what you think is like a swinging 60s soiree. And like they're just stuffing food in their face, and they have like the upbeat organ music playing in the background. Like they're just as boring and dull and garbage as everybody else. They just happen to get naked and do a circle thing beforehand.
It kind of reminds me of like Silicon Valley when they all go to the satanic cult the one night and they're like, well, that's the ceremony. We have what is it? Chick-fil-A over here for you guys.
It's like you're trying to be edgelords, but you're just it's just looking at the same thing through a different lens.
And it's just a bunch of fat, ugly, naked people, and then they have Chick-fil-A after they do their little ritual.
Well, I mean, okay, so maybe there's like more implications here, because I think like something that I have a general thought about life on is like we're talking about like community, and this was something that Elaine found that like allowed her to feel like she had more control in her life after Jerry left her, and she's like, didn't know what to do, didn't know why he left. It's just like, we hear the soundovers talking about how like at one point where he was just like really demeaning to her, talking about her weight, talking about how sloppy she was, how she couldn't take care of the home and stuff like that. So these are things that I think this movie is saying a lot more about, like really trying to find that community. And this one just happened to, I think in a way, make you think that you're taking control of your life, but like it's just enabling it almost. That was like my sense for it.
Yeah. I think that's I think we're talking about like two sides of the same coin here, because the conclusion I ultimately came to when I tried to just like unpack the theme, or like the overarching theme here, is like love or sex or relationships in general as like weaponized, like using it as an adversarial kind of weaponized approach. And like everyone in this movie ultimately has a very thin or surface level understanding of romantic love. And like built into this adversarial mindset and this transactional mindset and this us versus you, and hey, you can do whatever you want with men if you get them into this position, and all this stuff is really like completely at odds with the most elemental part of like a romantic love relationship, which is, I guess, vulnerability, I guess, is probably a way to put it. So like they're all so horribly scared of being vulnerable that they concoct all of this all of this set dressing around this idea of love so that they can dip their toes in it without being vulnerable. You know what I mean? But I do think it's interesting that there's never really a character, maybe with the exception of Trish a little bit, who explains it to them. You know what I mean? Like you would expect something like this, a movie like this with that as like one of the main themes, this idea of like love is being transactional or adversarial, however you want to put it. There's never really someone that you can point to that says like, that person knew it all along. You know what I mean? Usually there's a character like that, and that character never really comes.
No, pretty much everybody's a shitbird. But yeah, like Trish probably gets the closest, simply because like she had something, or at least thought she had something that was, in line with that, like with Richard. And like, you don't see enough of their relationship to really, you only see like after Richard's fallen under Elaine's spell, the way which is just such a great scene, the way he is just disheveled and drinking right from the drinking cart. It's so fucking good. It's the cartoonishness in which
Elaine's, lovers kind of like implode on themselves is pretty entertaining. And I wish there had been more of that, honestly.
Yeah, just the way, like, because like Wayne throws himself into these screaming, wailing, simping, like.
It probably could have been more of like a horror comedy if they definitely just amped that up a little bit more, or like allowed her reactions to be more comedic, or like a caricature of it.
Wayne was the like hippie guy on campus, right?
Wayne was the first guy that like she found on campus, and then
the bench. She was sitting on the bench, and
then they went to the cabin out in the woods. It was so funny because I just listened to an episode from last podcast of they were talking about this famous poisoner. Like I think her name was Nanny something or other. I forget.
Oh yeah, was she like the Black Widow killer or whatever? Yeah, she was like a healthcare. She worked in the healthcare field, right?
No.
Okay, I'm thinking of somebody different.
I think maybe she Nanny Doss. I don't think she was a full. She wasn't a full angel of death. She was more of a Black Widow killer, but like,
I'm getting two people mixed up.
Yeah, but like they told the story of Nanny Doss, and like Nanny Doss would poison people with plum pie, and like she would leave them in the other room to just die and scream. Like it was a long, painful death that she just left guys in bed screaming. And like Wayne dies the same way. I was like, I just heard about this. Because I'm pretty sure like she poisons his breakfast and then just leaves him to die screaming in bed. I wonder if Anna pulled that from the same thing.
That's where where it's like another thing is like, that's a good example of when I talked about how it doesn't ever feel intentional. So like, then don't know, like, I don't know if I believe the sociopath thing or if I believe that she's just very intentional. Like, I feel like if she was more intentional, I'd be like, yeah, she's a complete sociopath. It comes off just super ignorant in a lot of ways. Like she kind of like learned something, tried something, and then was just like, whoops.
Yeah, it's all hapless. It's like she has sociopathic tendencies, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she's like a ultra organized person. You know what I mean? I think she's just acting off of instinct and intuition, and when it doesn't go her way, she's like, well, all right, start over, try again.
Yeah, she doesn't have a good way of starting over. Her starting over is killing.
Well, let's be real. So there might have been actual feelings with Wayne though, because I mean, she did leave the witch's bottle, give your lover your tampon,
and your pee-pee,
whole thing, and your pee-pee.
Well, you need all these things for sex magic, guys. We have talked about sex magic before on the show. Now it's coming full circle.
Pee-pee and sage goes in the grave.
Yeah. The only thing I don't love about this movie, like actually I would say probably my biggest criticism of this movie, not enough cum.
Just not enough loads thrown everywhere.
It's implied that at least all the people she had sex with came.
Sure. I know, but it's just like when you think sex magic, you think one thing. Buckets of cum, and there just isn't
like
enough.
Used in the spells.
Well, you know what, Brian? I think that's much more of a Gahane story than it is an Elaine story. So.
That's true.
That's the sequel.
Gahane is out there throwing batches.
50-gallon drums of ropes.
He just thinks all the women really like it.
He jars it like you would jar peach preserves. Gives
Put it on toast for the ladies.
Jesus.
I want to see the story where Gahane's going to like women he's stalking, and he's just like throwing egg custard on their doors.
Or I was imagining him like that's how she meets, because the one with with Wayne is it almost feels like a Hallmark love story type of movie a little bit. They meet if it was that, but it was Gahane and he's at the farmer's market selling jars of his own cum.
And peaches too,
and peaches. And the movie's called Cum and Peaches. But peaches is like a double meaning because like the peach emoji is like a
porno. I think we just named a porno.
I think it's got to be like artisanal soap or artisanal face cream. Like it's all natural face cream.
Or it's a candles. He's making candles out of his cum, like cotton wick, organic
the
candles.
residue is actually purposeful.
Yeah.
It
They
feeds
all
the skin.
They all kind of smell like sandalwood.
They all smell like sandalwood and bleach.
And bleach and those weird trees that like smell like cum.
Yeah.
Oh man, guys, we're not making a sequel to this movie.
Why not?
Not a fan film. We're not going into the fan film
Fan
world.
film.
Why not?
I was.
This is bullshit. I want to make the cum movie.
This is the whole episode is Steve's pitch to make a fan film of this.
He's a big fan of Kahane.
Yeah.
All makes sense.
I want to know more about Kahane's story about, like, you know, his bad hairline and how he stalks women. And
Why is the like leader of a satanic cult always ugly?
cause that's what they do.
They need this. They need this. Yeah, very rarely is like, look at cult leaders. They're rarely are they attractive. You know what I mean?
Jared Leto, and that's about it.
Yeah. L. Ron Hubbard is a absolute just chud.
Uggo.
Yeah.
Hubbard, Uggo. LaVey, Uggo.
He was definitely told there's someone out there for him though. That's why he became a cult leader. He was looking for his lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What-
Jim
what-
Jones, bloated Uggo.
Oh yeah, gross.
Definitely gross.
Fucking strawberry nose.
So guys, this movie, hey,
Bunch of Jim Blossom
Happy-
drunks.
happy Valentine's Day, y'all.
We're here. It's Valentine's
Talking
Day
about
tomorrow,
cum and
guys.
peaches.
Don't forget to gift your significant other either cum or period blood, and then hopefully they'll do the same for you, and then you can perform sex magic of some sort on Valentine's Day.
Yes. I had a couple more just like little notes about like the filmmaking of just like things that were done in the film that I thought were interesting. One, so Anna did all of the music for this, right? But the two diegetic songs in this film are fucking terrible. And I think she did it on purpose. The first one is the harp song in the tea room when they first go to the tea room.
woman playing the harp.
That song is so fucking bad and like
It's so abrasive. Like you don't think of a harp as an abrasive instrument, but it really is.
And the lyrics are just dog shit. Like, like they don't rhyme correctly.
It almost feels like these weird cliches. Like, you know, it's like it's what you would normally hear, but then when you actually listen, you're like, whoa, this is really fucking insane and weird.
It's not actually
it takes you
good.
out of the world that you're in, almost in a sense. You're like, you
wonder if it is that, like, maybe you're onto something. I wonder if it is this, because this does feel like an underlying theme in the movie is that romanticized love isn't real love. And the romanticized version in your head of whatever, whether it's love or sex or romance or whatever, is never what you're picturing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if that was just something that was built into those decisions.
Yeah. Well, and the other song that comes up is during kind of the Ren Fair that's also run by the Wiccans that they just happen to stumble upon or whatever. And like they're playing a song in that scene. And like, again, the lyrics are like you were saying, Meg, they're super cliche. And so I'm just wondering, and like both times Elaine appears to be struck by these songs. Like they're such great pieces, but like they're cliche, they're bad. Even I think like the instrumentation is a little cliche. Yeah. But then like if you listen to all the other non-diegetic soundtrack, it's really good. Like because it evokes the era. So I just wonder if that both of those songs play into that original thing we were talking about of it being, you know, like you're not hearing the music correctly. Like, you know, the words, but not the music. Yeah, I wonder if it's just kind of a juxtapose of that of like she's hearing whatever lyrics she wants to hear and they're fucking garbage.
Sure.
So this is for sure coming through my own personal filter. So I'm going to preface everything through that and like how I think about like labels and stuff. And specifically like even in the beer world where there's like a lot of people who have been like, I'm aware witch. And I'm like, okay, cool. You like make magic. Sure. I mean, like, I like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It blows my mind and I don't understand it. So first and foremost. And then I also have
now, are you talking about crystals and shit like that? Are you talking about
we can talk about crystals. We can
any
talk
of it.
about it. Yeah.
Gotcha,
any of it.
okay.
Like, it's just, there's this modern day, label of wanting to feel kind of like witchy. So when I think about this,
you're wearing a Coven sweatshirt, by the way. Okay, just want to put this in context. You are wearing a shirt that says Coven on it.
Teehee.
Why are you derailing my point?
I just want to say, seemed germane to the point.
A little bit. Because you mentioned how it happens in the brewery world, and that seems to hit like both at the same time.
But they don't do witchy shit though. They don't talk about it. You know what I mean? So
no. I know what you mean. I was at Barnes and Noble yesterday. I took my kids to a little book shopping yesterday. We went to the Barnes and Noble because they have 1 million kids books, and there were whole sections that were put in promotional spots. Like if you know Barnes and Noble, they'll put like stuff that they is relevant in like the center kind of aisle spot. And there was an entire book of like witch stuff.
Sure.
Like
and I mean,
real practical witch stuff. It's weird. It's like very much in the zeitgeist. I mean,
yeah, no. And I mean, this thing also, so I haven't hit the point yet what I'm going for. So I was derailed by being called out for my hood in my sweatshirt, but, But like, yeah, because I mean, there's even bring in like different religions. We're talking about paganism, etc., Wicca, like all these different things. And I'm curious, though, with like people who don't really necessarily associate with these things, but like more so like the label for whatever reason, it almost feels like this disconnection between like wanting a label to feel like you're like associated with something and then truly having an understanding of that thing. It's like, to give like a weird example that maybe will drive the point of what I'm actually meaning. It's like someone who's like a practicing religion, whether we're talking Catholic or whatever. I don't understand Christianity, so I don't really care. Catholic is the only thing I understand.
So you're not missing much.
No, I don't think so.
There was a guy, he did a thing.
It's like if someone's like a devout something and then they're like, yes, this is who I am. This is part of my existence because I practice this thing. I, subscribe like the things, I rule my life by that versus just labeling yourself based on something that you like and you like the idea. And it kind of has this weird disconnection between the two of like, you don't really have a full understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it, but because it feeds some like innate thing that you need. Again, going back to me talking about community and this whole like satanic cult, kind of giving that to someone and then feeding back to what we know about cults is that that's what they're doing. Like they're trying to find vulnerable people who need something and then bringing them back in. And I think this film just like totally plays that out. It's like she wants to call herself a witch because it makes her feel part of something, though she has no understanding of what this is or what she can do with it or why she's doing it. And she's like, whoopsies, I killed someone, and it like there's no accountability for it either.
No, I would say it's even beyond making it kind of more like hyper specific and like talking about in terms of like cults. I think just religion and spirituality in general, or like labeled spirituality, whether you're a Christian or a Buddhist or a whatever. Like I think a lot of people, it's probably analogous to this idea that people just want to put a label on the thing that they want to associate them with because humans are inherently scared of
what they don't understand even.
Well, yeah. And I guess like anything that's vague or doesn't have a label on it, like ambiguity, they're just, you're scared of ambiguity. You're hardwired to try to compartmentalize things to make sense of it in your brain. So if you maybe I'd venture to say a huge percentage of people who are even like mainstream Christian, like they probably, if you where the rubber hits the road and said, do you believe in everything that your particular sect of Christianity believes in, the answer would most likely be no.
Right.
But it's much easier to say, this is the thing that I am, rather than explaining all the shades of gray, because that's too scary and too complicated. So like in this instance, she's doing the same thing, but she's just like, I think there's a sociopathic element here, because she's got some ends to her means that she's trying to make up for here. But she's just like, I want to get what I want. This is a thing that sounds like it makes sense to me and is going to get me what I want. So I'm a witch now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I think you're saying exactly, you're like shortening exactly the point I was making too. And I think like we just want to all make sense of the world and understand each other. And so I didn't know if like Anna is trying to then portray something like that through this film. But again, that's going through my filter. But I'm also that person where I'm like, I would rather be super ambiguous to people and be like, yeah, I like this and this and this. And then don't fucking label me. I'm like, don't say I'm this, don't say I'm that. Because I think like it feels a little bit more true and honest. And this film is like very specific, pointing out that we want to have an understanding of who each other is or what they do. And even that comes through with how the town sees the witches. And it's just like, you're either this or you're that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's another theme that I just kind of thought of too, as we were talking through this, that sounds like, I wonder if this is an element to it, because I keep thinking like, to what ends are all of these like I would say trials that Elaine is going through, and I wonder if the theme is ultimately like anti-monogamy, like or character or like humans are not hardwired for monogamy. Is that the message? Because everything is great until people just start unpacking their baggage on each other.
If like getting on the dating apps lately is telling me everything, is that people are certainly not hardwired for monogamy.
Yeah, like they're just
everyone's polyamorous.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to like. Maybe that's what she's trying to advocate for, is just like just get go out, interact with each other in the way you want to interact, get what you want or need from that relationship, and then move on. Maybe. I don't know. Or
maybe there's like to the same end, but like a different avenue. It's just like, maybe it's showing like the pointlessness of trying for it, because like it's then just leading you down this path of like these failed relationships. Maybe that's another end of it.
Yeah, maybe. But also at the same time, we have to go back to the original point of like, everybody in this film is broken. So none of these people can achieve monogamy or that, proper relationship that everybody idolizes, but that's because they're also broken. They haven't figured out why they're broken.
Yeah.
And they don't accept that they're broken. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense, I think, because Anna Biller also, if I remember on the episode of The Last Drive-In she was on, I do remember her, maybe I'm misremembering, but I think I remember her kind of felt like she was working some stuff out when she was making this movie too. Okay. You know what I mean? So like, I think that maybe it is a little bit more ambiguous, because it's not coming from the perspective of somebody who has figured it out, more of like of like discovering the story, at least maybe not in real time, but the story is of somebody told from the perspective of somebody who is like in a discovery phase in their life, like romantically, sexually, whatever. But I don't know.
At least it's made us think about life and love. And, you know what I mean? Like,
live, laugh, love. Guys, that's why I have that tattooed across my knuckles and on my butt cheeks. Live, laugh, love.
You actually have live, laugh, lobotomy in your heart tattoo now.
Yeah.
Just one more note, and it's just a fun little filmmaking note. And I don't know if I caught all of the instances of this, but there's a lot of edits into cake. There's a lot of cake in the film.
There was a lot of sweets, decadency, and that sort of stuff.
There's a lot of cakes in the film.
I was wondering how I could like live that life.
Yeah, well,
cake life.
They just be like, yeah, they're just like here. No, I'm just not a baker, and I actually don't really like sweets. Like a lot of them, I go through bouts. Like when I wasn't drinking, I was eating a lot more sweets.
Okay, well, yeah, that's replacement.
Yeah, that's a good knuckle tattoo, though. Cake life, maybe a good knuckle tattoo.
You're a baker. Okay, someone's probably done that.
Yeah, there's enough chefs out there with that. But there's edits in the cake though
Do you
that
think
I like.
someone has rake life if they do like construction work or like lawn work?
I'm ignoring that, Meg. That's ADHD interrupting, and I'm ignoring it. The edits in the cake are when the detectives go to discover Wayne's body at the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that I noticed happens where they go to dig up the body, and then there's a smash cut into a fork going into a chocolate cake.
Interesting.
And then the next one I noticed was it's after Richard is discovered dead, and Trisha goes to meet Elaine at the tea room. There it goes from Richard's blood dripping from his wrists to this like strawberry syrup pour over cake that she's being served. So I just thought those fun little cute edits. I don't know if I caught all of them, but those are the ones I saw, and I was like, oh, she's building some sort of motif. And there's also just a lot of cake in the film to begin with.
Big cake energy. I wonder if there's if she or somebody else who was on set like was maybe they had access to somebody who was really good at making cakes, and they're like, let's build this in, or if it's like something that she wrote in from the beginning. Obviously the tea room is like a central like kind of spot of self-reflection for her, I mean?
They talk about too about the white witch, the light witch, and like the dark witch too a lot too. So that almost seems to be this like stark contrast. She's always changed. She's always in different clothes than what you normally would. You'd be wearing, like, even when Wayne was dying, like there was bringing up like, she was wearing black, but she always had color underneath. Like, I feel like there's probably more to these type of things as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of like the choices Elaine makes as far as like wardrobe and everything is just about her fitting into like the mood or anything. Because like you start the film with her like bright cherry red convertible, and then her luggage matches it. She is about
sick as fuck.
Yeah, which that's a pretty tight baller move. But like she's just
too, I think.
I believe so as well. And then like when she goes to the tea room, we see she was either wearing black or red in the scene beforehand. And then you kind of expect her to like not fit in when she goes to the tea room, but no, she has something for that as well. She has the Victorian era, bonnet and everything going for her. So it's a lot of deliberateness, and I'm sure the cake is also deliberate. And it's just, I think it's a lot about, again, going back to portraying kind of that 60s lifestyle of everything was like swinging soirees and everybody baked and cooked and made fucking, Jello desserts that had meat and peas in it.
Oh, hell yeah. Now you're speaking my language. Little chunks of ham in your Jello.
Yeah. Quote unquote salads.
Have you ever actually made one of those? I'm just like really curious about this.
I mean, I've made like terrines, which are kind of as close to that as possible, but I've never done the like ham cubes and peas in lime Jello, that like stereotypical old ads that I love. I've never done that, but I would. They used to have celery flavored Jello. That was the thing. They used to have savory Jello flavors, and they really don't anymore, which is
we could totally
bullshit.
do that, I think, too.
I know we could just with plain gelatin.
Yeah.
Out of here, Steve's gonna yell at us again for having ADHD.
No, it's fine to talk. No, it's okay. I think we're
talking about Jello and ham.
Well, yeah, I think we're more or less done with the film, so it's fine if we want to talk about 60s era salads. It's still within brand of the episode and show.
All right.
That's yelling at us again.
Steve, man, we're talking about celery Jello. All right, guys. That we have discussed in a lot deeper thematic detail than anticipated here on a Sunday morning. We talked about The Love Witch, which ultimately I would say definitely worth a watch. Super interesting film. I would say there's not another film like this. I weirdly, in my mind, equate this with House of the Devil because they're both like very immersive attention to detail versions of like period motion picture history kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be it's almost like, not House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects too, a little bit, where he just likes to make it, he wants to feel like a movie from a different era, which I always appreciate. But I just thought of that as being, kind of a fun double feature. Any final thoughts on this sumbitchin' flick?
No, guys, I got to get to the doctors.
Meg's got to go directly to the hospital.
I apologize for the editing you're going to have to do, Steve. I tried my best.
Hacking up along. No, actually, I thought I couldn't even hear it, maybe because I never stopped talking. All right, guys.
Very true.
Let me remind you one more time. Check out on the social medias if you don't follow us already. If you're not checking out our stories, that's usually where we post some shit on the Instagram to vote on our next topic. But also Steve posts it on the Twitter as well. And I think you can vote on it from Facebook also. But anyway, just go to one of them two things and we'll help you vote. We'll show you where to vote for our showdown episode for the month of March. 3 exceptional topics. I'm really excited about doing any of these 3. First one is werewolf flicks. Second one, Peter Cushing, best of Peter Cushing, and Hungry for Horror, which is like food and restaurant and whatever types of horror movies. So
if I can put a little bit of a vote forward for Hungry for Horror, because I believe Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday are coming pretty late this year.
Okay.
So like we can do some Hungry stuff in the 1st of March,
What are those Polish little cake things? Packies?
Yeah.
Butchki.
Yeah, that's it.
Butchki.
I gotta find them.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're delicious.
Butchki.
They're like little
Basically
jelly donuts.
I was gonna say like a jelly filled donut, right? But we don't say that. Right.
Yeah.
No.
Different.
Oh, now I'm hungry. Now I want donuts. All right,
man,
guys.
donuts, too.
Anything else I forgot? Anything else we got to touch on? Anything else about the next episode? Still a spies, right? We don't know what we're doing for the next episode yet.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing for the rest of February, although I believe we'll have Cocaine Bear coming up. And yeah, we'll have Cocaine Bear, and then I don't know. I would like to see if maybe, I don't know when, but have you guys seen the trailer for the Outwaters or heard anything about the Outwaters?
I have seen it pop up, but I don't know if I've even watched a trailer.
There's been a lot of good buzz, and I've heard that it's a cosmic horror, and it's like a found footage
mystery.
Yeah. It seems
I feel like maybe I've seen the trailer for it.
It seems like it's a more serious version of you remember the VHS 99 section by the people who did Deadstream, where they go to hell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, that was fun.
It seems like it's a feature length, more serious version of that. So
interesting.
I know it's coming to Screambox at some point. I just don't know when, but maybe that could be our next one. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, we'll take a look. See if we can find that some bitch popping up there. It looks interesting. All right. If you have any suggestions,
it came out February 9th.
Oh, it already came out. Beautiful.
Well, in theaters.
In theaters.
Yeah.
It's in theaters now. Okay. Weird. It says 2022 in here. It must have hit like this festival circuit or something earlier. But in any case, if you got suggestions for us for minisodes and things like that, throw them our way on the social medias, in the DMs or whatever like that, or just comment on something on the social medias. That also is an acceptable thing to do. All right. That being said, for the Halloween is Forever Crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Megan.
I'm Cake Boss.
Cake Boss. Okay, bye. Oh.